Welcome to the historic Ocean House, a luxurious hotel that pays homage to New England's golden age of hospitality with timeless elegance and renewed civility. This treasured resort is the setting of our special broadcast of the Ocean House Author Series, each program featuring nationally best-selling and award-winning authors in a salon-style conversation, hosted by Ocean House owner, actress, and best-selling author Deborah Goodrich Royce. WCRI is pleased to partner with the Ocean House to present this ongoing series, which brings you the best and the brightest of the literary world. Now, let's take you to the Ocean House.
Luanne Rice is the New York Times bestselling author of 39 novels, translated into 30 languages. She received the 2014 Connecticut Governor's Arts Award for Excellence and Lifetime Achievement in the Literary Arts category. Connecticut College awarded Luanne an honorary degree, and she also received an honorary doctorate of humane letters from St. Joseph University in West Hartford, Connecticut. Several of Luanne's novels have been adapted for television. She is a creative affiliate of the Safina Center, an organization that fuses scientific understanding, artistic expression, and emotional connection. Luanne will be in conversation this evening with Deborah Goodrich Royce. Deborah's latest book, Best Boy, was an instant indie press bestseller, and Reef Road, a national bestseller, was named one of the best books of 2023 by Kirkus Reviews. She began as an actress on All My Children and in multiple films before transitioning to the role of story editor at Miramax Films. With her husband Chuck, Deborah restored the Avon Theater, Ocean House Hotel, Deer Mountain Inn, United Theater, and Martin House Books. Luanne and Deborah will now discuss Luanne's latest thrilling read, Until Midnight, and after that we'll open it up to questions, so please just raise your hand so we can capture your question for folks listening in the future. And that's all for me, folks. So without any further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Luanne Rice and Deborah Goodrich Royce.
Thank you, Lindsay. Welcome, Luanne, and welcome all of you. You are here. This is a party. This is a launch party. Did you all get hors d'oeuvres and something to drink? Did you see that cake? We will cut the cake when we're finished. I have to shout out to Sweet Lisa in Greenwich, Connecticut. They made that cake and drove it up here. It's extraordinary, and if you're listening on the radio, it looks like the book, pages and all, so it's incredible. I am so happy to be here with you.
Oh, Deborah, I'm so happy to be here with you too. It's the best part of the year is when a book comes out and we get to have a conversation.
Well, speaking of this book, and I love this book, why don't you start with your elevator pitch? Okay. What is Until Midnight about?
Well, so it's, you've seen the cover, so it takes place in a very familiar spot. And it is the last novel, which was called Last Night, was also set in the Ocean House, and it ended with a proposal during a blizzard.
Yeah.
And this one starts with a wedding. Yes, a wedding in Watch Hill.
An actual wedding at the Ocean House.
Do we have inside baseball? Well, that's leave it at that.
So that's the setup. Where do I want to start? Well, let's start with the idea of it's really a quartet of novels that link somehow, right? There are 4 of them. There's Shadowbox, Last Day, Last Night, and Until Midnight.
Yes.
Did I get them in the right order?
You did. Yeah, I think so.
I did. Well, in whatever order.
Yeah.
So talk about that. Did you know before you wrote all 4 of these books that you were beginning something that you wanted to continue, and talk about that process?
So it's interesting because these are thrillers, and that's not how I started.
I know.
You know, my earlier novels were general fiction. But I've always loved reading suspense. I love reading books about cops and books about murder. And so in Last Day, which was actually inspired by a real life murder that affected my family and family members, I came up with a police officer, detective, Connecticut State Police, named Connor Reed, and his brother Tom Reed, who is an investigator for the U.S. Coast Guard. And Connor is in love with a woman named Kate Woodward. So they were in the first of the 4 novels. Finished that novel, started writing something else, and they just kind of came back. I felt as if their stories hadn't been told to a fulfilling way. So that was the shadow box. Then last night, and then now until midnight. But they're not a series, so to speak. Like, you don't have to read the previous novels. And I didn't write them that way. Like, I really just wrote them as what was coming to me, standalone novels, I guess.
But you have as you get going, do you have kind of a Bible or a family tree, or do you have a big chart of who's connected to whom?
I don't have one written down, but I know it. I feel like I know them so well that I know what the relationships are and where they come from and what, kind of where they're, I don't, as you and I talk often, I'm sure we'll talk about it tonight too, we don't plot, but sometimes the characters are so real that they tell the story. And that's what I feel like they're sort of in me at this point.
Right. You've used a phrase very recently talking about one writer or another and where we get our ideas. And it's such a perfect phrase, ripped from the headlines.
Yeah.
And we all use pieces of our life, pieces of what's going on in current events. How does that fit in for you?
So I don't write about topical things. I don't say I want to have a novel that is, going to be perfect for discussion. It's a story for me. It comes completely from my heart. But I do read the papers and I do watch the news. Not always, but not recently, but I do. And but I'd say that mostly, and I think I know what you might be hinting at with this book. Because people have said to me, because there is an element that's quite dark in it. Rick Koster used the phrase sex trafficking ring. Mm-hmm. So is there a connection with Epstein? Not overtly. Of course, there's echoes of it, unfortunately, in our lives. But it's also being a woman who grew up, I don't think it matters what age or what time period, but we have, fought off unwanted attentions, etc. And so it's not the main story in the novel, but it's an element of it.
Yes. So being female is inherently vulnerable, and I think we as women know that. And there are periods where things do come into the headlines, and certainly this is one of those periods in such a large scale. I didn't, when I read it, really connect it with Epstein.
I'm glad, because I definitely didn't want that. I was like, thanks, Rick Koster, for that.
So, but another thing you write often, boats, the seaside, the seafaring life, nautical life, people who have careers, whether it's Coast Guard, whether it's fishermen, and you are a New England girl, so, it obviously comes in the territory of write what you know, but talk about that a little bit. How do you do that so well?
Thank you so much for that, as the owner of Aphrodite. I grew up at the beach. There are so many really close friends of mine and family who are here that we grew up with our bare feet in the water and, in the tide line. And it just was my passion. It was everything to me. We'd get our family come down to the beach on Memorial Day. Right after school got out in the spring. We'd kick our shoes off, my two sisters and I. We probably wouldn't put them on again until we had to go back to school in September. And, during that time, there were boats, there were rowboats, sailboats, fishing boats. And it just was, a real passion. And kind of, to even more so, my sister Maureen is married to a professional sailor who sailed for the America's Cup, and so he's been in our family since Maureen was 17. So it's a long time, So a lot of that has come into my consciousness, and I lived in Newport. I worked on I worked as a maid at Bellevue Avenue while my sisters were working on the docks. They were dock girls during the America's Cup, and so. Just an interest. And I also, there's a program in Woods Hole called Sea Education Association. I don't know if any of you know it, but it's really so-called semester at sea. Mm-hmm. So it was a few months in Woods Hole studying oceanography, and then a few months on board a schooner doing whale research in the Caribbean. We studied the migratory patterns of humpback whales and them having, we had to do celestial navigation. We had to do the Loran back when there was Loran. That was very hard. Climb
what
the
is
rigging.
The Loran?
It was a navigational aid that was like a machine, and you had to. It was very precise. You had to I'm sure there are sailors here who know what I'm talking about. You had to dial in these images that kind of had to line up, and they called them the master and slave. And I found it very difficult to do that, but that's how you would determine your position in the ocean. Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's a lot easier now with GPS. We didn't have that back then.
The whole world is different.
It is.
Yeah.
It's so different.
So you mentioned you moved at a certain point in your career from really a lifetime of writing general fiction mm-hmm. to certainly a period of late to writing thrillers. So why did you do that?
So I think I don't see it as a really gigantic change. I feel as if, what I wrote about back then, and I'm, clearly, I feel as if I write about families and relationships. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are secrets under our roofs, that there are things that look really pretty from the outside. And if you went behind the closed doors, you'd find something entirely different. So even in my earlier fiction, that was what was there. There's a story to every family, to every person. And sometimes there'd be crime. My grandfather, Rice, my father's father, was a police detective in Hartford. And I think, that influenced me a lot. Not as much as Nancy Drew, though.
Yes, indeed.
Nancy Drew was my favorite. And so I just wanted to solve every mystery. And I saw mysteries everywhere. I think you did too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I told you I was just in Toledo, Ohio on my own book tour, and I went to the library. Anybody from Toledo, Ohio in this room or in the audience? So they have this really cool downtown library, and the writer of the first 23 Nancy Drew books, her name is not Carolyn Keene, they all call themselves Carolyn Keene, was from there, and they have this cool children's section with a whole wall of wooden drawers and doors and spinning wheels and tickets that you pull out and books you have to go look at, and you go along and you come to a point of solving it. And I thought, I don't want to go talk. I want to do this children's thing. So you mentioned cops. Now, how do you write cops so well? I know you, and I know you've got to go talking to people and researching with people. You must do this.
Well, funny you should ask, because in this audience, and I don't know where they're sitting right now, but in most of my novels, for very long, for at least 15 years, maybe longer, I've mentioned in the acknowledgments Rob Derry, who was a Connecticut State Police officer. And
is Rob Derry here tonight?
No, but his where are
He's
you?
working.
Oh, there they are. Okay.
His family.
His wife, daughter, and mother-in-law are there. So, Rob, I don't know if some of you have probably heard this story because it's so cute, it's so funny. I was home in Old Lyme, Connecticut, at this beach cottage that I grew up in, my grandparents built. And I was there alone years ago, and I'm sitting there, a peaceful summer day, and I hear bang, 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 really loud. And I was like, oh my, I go to the door, and there is a state trooper with his hat on, standing there, looking really stern. And my heart was pounding out of my chest. So I opened the door. Yes. He goes, are you Luanne Rice? Yes. Would you sign this book for my mom?
That's fabulous. Now that is not where I thought that was going.
I know. It could have been anything.
And you said, yes, I will sign it.
Yeah.
For the next 20 years, I can pick your brain.
Exactly. But he did become my source. was so helpful to me. I could call him for anything. He would be very specific about some of the things he did. And he just retired not that long ago, but he became a lieutenant and was in charge of the major crime squad in Hartford, Connecticut, during the time that they were searching for Jennifer Dulos. Ooh. And Rob was instrumental in the highway camera search. Yeah. He was the one who, he was at the time, I think, stationed in Bridgeport, right? And he was the one who went through all that footage and found the red truck. So
let's talk about that. So you write thrillers in the modern world. These are not period pieces. And we're in a world of technology. So it's one thing if you write a thriller and you say, I'm going to set this in 1975, and you don't have to deal with cameras, you don't have to deal with cell phones, any kind of tracking. But setting a thriller now, how do you, I mean, you obviously have to think about all this. We do. So how do you approach that?
You know, I think being interested in crime and following investigations, you realize kind of the steps that investigators take. I'm a big fan of Michael Connelly and Bosch, you know. And I think that if you want to study police procedure, that you couldn't do better than to read those novels. So when I talk to people, I talk to Rob, I have a friend in the FBI, I have a friend who was the U.S. Marshal, the head of the office in the Southern District of New York. So he had a lot of really interesting high-level cases. And I like law, too. You know, I really am lucky to have lawyers in my life that I can talk to about court and things like that.
So sticking with process, how much of your work has a research period where you know where you're going and you're talking to this cop and this lawyer, or do you kind of, because you don't plot, might you get going and then stop and talk to somebody and then get back to it?
For the most part, you know, like sometimes if something's really interesting to me and I know I want to write about it, I'll do research in advance, you know, especially for setting. I love to research setting, but for an example is with Until Midnight, and also Last Night. There's a lot of Coast Guard. There's a lot of ship rescue and shipwreck and smuggling and human trafficking, and so that's something that's really interesting. It really takes place right in here, right in our area. It's prevalent, and so I have another person that I talk to in the Coast Guard. Who two actually, one is a veterinarian, not a vet, but she's also a vet, and she was in the Coast Guard. She's helpful, but also there's a young man, Matt Cavaco, who's a surfer in these waters right here, who is a retired Coast Guard, and I be in the middle of a scene and realize, what's the hierarchy here? Like who's in charge? Right. That kind of thing. And he's wonderful. I'll text him and say, "Can you talk for a minute?" Yeah. And he'll, say, "Yep."
Well, funny thing about researching, you don't always know what you should be researching. I was on a panel in Fort Lauderdale with a guy who's a writer, and I can't think of his name right now. And he's a cat lover, and he has a calico cat. Anyway, he decided to write a calico cat in a book and make it a male. Does anybody know about calico cats? They're only female. Well, he didn't know that, and I wouldn't have known that, and he didn't even know he needed to research that. It was the most random decision writing a book of just, I'll make it a male. And
who would know that?
Boy, did his readers let him know. Yeah, we had a general murmur of laughter.
Almost anything, you can make a mistake in a book about almost anything, but cats or dogs, forget it, right?
But I would never think if I was writing a Labrador Retriever and I wanted to make it male or female. It just,
right.
I mean, that's kind of obscure.
We'll take a short break and be back with the Ocean House Author Series here on WCRI.
Ocean House, located on the scenic Atlantic Ocean in historic Watch Hill, is one of only 14 triple five-star resorts in the world, with superb guest accommodations, a world-class spa, dining, and events. This year, Ocean House is once again hosting one of their most popular events, the Ocean House Author Series with Deborah Goodrich Royce. Enjoy her discussion with #1 New York Times bestselling author Chris Bojalian on Wednesday, August 12th at 5 p.m. They will be discussing his 26th and newest work of fiction, The Amateur, a novel. Attendance includes a signed copy of the featured book, insightful conversation, as well as complimentary wine and delicious light bites. Held at the breathtaking Ocean House, this exciting event begins at 5 p.m. Wednesday, August 12th. For information and tickets, go to oceanhouseevents.com. That's oceanhouseevents.com.
And we're back with the Ocean House Author Series on WCRI.
The Ocean House. So
the Ocean House.
I want to lead into this. I think we as humans have a fascination with bad things or catastrophic things happening in beautiful places. I think everybody likes that. I was on a soap opera. That's the whole point of a soap opera. Everyone has one drama after the next in fancy clothes, right? That's why we like it. Or Somerset Maugham said about writing the French Riviera, it's a sunny place for shady people. So here we have this luxury hotel, and you use it as a setting for murder and mayhem, although not technically in the building.
Right. I did tell Chuck I'll never murder anyone in the building.
Well, so what drew you to this setting?
You know, I just love the Ocean House, and I like many of us locals, came here when we were young. It was very different. It was a salty, drafty, wonderful old seaside hotel. And had lots of fun at the beach, and just many memories of that. And then I moved away for a lot of my adult life and lived in New York and California. But when I came back, the Ocean House was this. It had transformed, and I didn't know the whole story of how that had happened. I just knew I walked in and I was like, wow, this is not how I remember it. And but I just, I hadn't really moved back into Connecticut yet, so I would come back from the West Coast or whatever and stay here, and for a week at a time or a little longer, and it just became like a place to write, and a place where my family often come for holidays. We come for Christmas a lot and Thanksgiving, and it just the people who work here are really, they treat me like family, so that's why I love it so much. And if I need nurturing, this is where I come.
Well,
really true.
I would add to that shout out to the staff at the Ocean House. I think each and every one is the best of the best, and I think that is really what makes it a luxury experience more than the setting. But to set a thriller here is next level.
Yes, it is.
So,
it is.
I
That's
mean,
true.
let's go to Murder on the Orient Express.
Yes.
I think it works because it's a luxury train. It works because it's a setting that we associate with glamour and maybe a life that isn't accessible to all of us.
I think you're right. Like if it were just, say it was just the local train, it would just be a sordid, sad, horrible death, murder. But when it's here,
Murder at the Motel 6.
Yeah, Murder at the Motel 6, a dime a dozen. Or if you're from Connecticut,
well, it becomes seedy.
It's seedy, yes. Like the Starlight. Does anyone remember the Starlight in Niantic? Say no more, right? But I think I also one of my, I mentioned that I was a maid on Bellevue Avenue in Newport, but I knew the von Bülows. I knew Klaus von Bülow. That has fascinated people,
Yes.
That story. It's so tragic and so horrible, but what is it that, I mean, this is, the psychology of this is not what I don't think about the psychology of it when I'm writing, but what gets me into it too? It's like, is it because they're so fortunate? You know, like if it can happen to them, it's happening to them, it's not happening to me. You know, or something. I don't know what that is.
Well, there is something. I do think, no, there's an appeal. As I said, I think we like to think, I don't think we're thinking it's happening to them and not me. I think we think, it doesn't just happen to people like me.
Yeah.
It also happens to them.
Right.
Those people.
It could be that, you know, like I think I'd said earlier in our talk that things can look so good from the outside, and it doesn't have to be anything to do with Bellevue Avenue or the Ocean House. It can be your next door neighbor or somebody that you went to school with, or on social media. Things look so good, and then you find out that it wasn't. You know, there was tragedy, or there was betrayal, or you know, the secrets came back to haunt somebody. You know, and I think being in a hotel, there's an anonymity, as well as like the friendship and the, you know, the nurturing. But you're kind of living a secret life if you're staying in a hotel, you know?
Oh,
right?
Maybe
darling?
more than we can say.
Shh, you know. But I think that's really true. You know, you go into your room and write, and then you come out, and also there's a whole lot of eavesdropping that goes on in the lobby.
In the lobby, yeah.
You know, in any lobby, you know. And
my husband, Chuck, who was the visionary of this, he loves a hotel lobby. When we travel, people will recommend all kinds of boutique hotels with no lobbies. Like, no. Lobby life is the life for him. He loves lobby life.
I am the same. I love lobby life. And when in California, in Santa Monica, for a long time, my favorite hotel in LA area was Shutters on the Beach. I loved it. And I used to stay there a lot. And the lobby was incredible. And they had like sofas that faced each other, and it was kind of like an East Coast. It like felt like Nantucket, sort of, really beachy, but out there. And of course, but then, you know, Hugh Grant would be recovering from a hangover on the next couch. I remember vividly that, you know, I remember Adele had, you know, when she strained her vocal cord, she was, you know, at another couch, like drinking tea and canceling her concerts. And you know, Meryl Streep and her daughters. I remember one of her daughters coming up behind her and hugging her from behind. But so fun to see celebrities at a place like that. But also just like fun to look around and see people who've been traveling and you know, fun. Just a long story, but fun fact: I wrote a screenplay on one of those couches with a young actor named Jace Bartok. And we wrote a script based on my novel Dream Country. We wrote the whole thing sitting side by side on a sofa in the lobby at Shutters.
It's a great story.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
And we were just having a blast. And so, but they changed the lobby. They turned the lobby into like the cocktail lounge. It's not the same.
Not the same.
You know, if you want a cocktail lounge, go to the bar. But like the lobby's different.
It is different.
This is a wonderful lobby, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell Chuck. He's lobby master. So speaking of hotels, and you and another writer, Amy Scheib, and I, the three of us, a few years ago, we envisioned a writer's retreat, and we hold it at a different hotel in the Catskill Mountains, and it's become kind of a cornerstone for close to 30 writers now have cycled in and out of this Deer Mountain Writers Retreat. And talk a little bit about the kind of fraternity that exists among writers, what it's like to go away to write, because you write in hotels, you write at home, you write a lot of places, and to be in that setting where you write all day, but then you hang out at night.
Yeah, so Deborah's the architect of this, and it was really your vision, and Amy and I were lucky enough to join you. So it's at the Deer Mountain Inn, and everybody go home and Google this place, because it's like, I don't want to say it's like the Ocean House, but in the mountains, but it has the magic of the Ocean House. It's very rustic, but impeccably, like elegantly rustic, but it's just beautiful, right? And it's like a fantasy of a lodge, a mountain lodge. So, as Deborah said, we show up on Sunday, right? We show up on Sunday, and we gather there. There's I don't even know what you call it, but the top floor.
The attic,
and it's an attic in name only, because it's on the top floor. But it's filled with overstuffed couches, and bookcases, and a little bar, and views out of the forest, and if it's snowing, I mean, it's just incredible. And some of us have never met, quite most of us really, and so the writers come, all gather that night, we have drinks together, and we have dinner, and then the next morning we are on our own writing for 5 days. And it's, we kind of modeled it a little bit after Yaddo and McDowell, where the artists or the writers, in the morning, you can choose if you want to have breakfast in the lodge, or it will be delivered to your door, so you don't have to see anybody. The same with lunch, always lunch in your own room or cabin, and then dinner, the same, cocktails and then dinner together. And it's really, it's a magical, I think, formula, and we've made really close friends.
Yeah, we call ourselves Deers, DEERS.
Yes. So when Deborah sends out the emails to the group, it's like, hello Deers, DEER, and that's what we all call ourselves.
No, it's become I think one of the things, and I suspect you agree, this writing life is a very solitary life.
Yeah.
You have to have companionship with other writers. You've got to kind of connect somewhat.
That's something that I never really sought out, really, till you. I mean, until there was you. But it's really true, I mean, I had writer friends, many really, really great writer friends, but I am so solitary, and so much of what I do is really being a hermit. So it kind of is like, and I can be a hermit here at the Ocean House, but you can't really do that with the Deers, because, but we really respect each other's space. Don't hang out during the day unless we want to. I mean, there's no rules.
No rules.
Sometimes we go on hikes. Tell about the area, though, because it's so magical, and it links up with the recently renovated or redecorated decor at the Ocean House with Ileana.
The same decorator. So it's Rip Van Winkle country. It is up in the Catskill Mountains. It's where the Hudson River School painters painted. It's the Catskill Falls. It's so beautiful. It's up the mountain from the house of Thomas Cole, who was really one of the first Hudson River School painters, and Frederick Church, who was a protege of Cole. It is rustic mountain lodgy. We've got taxidermy. You've got Hudson River School paintings, Oriental rugs. It's
800 count thread, right?
So it's like surf and turf to this place. It's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful, and it's a retreat.
But when we go to your house, you have a house in the area, and we take that hike through the woods and through the ledge, and this artists have.
Well, there's this beautiful rock called the Artist's Seat, and a lot of those artists, their names are up there. Yeah, it's a really cool kind of mystical area.
It really is.
Very different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an artist by any means, but I love art, and I feel like I have the soul and the eyes of an artist, but not the talent. So when I'm there, we're up high, and you're looking out over other mountains and valleys, and you're above the clouds.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It is pretty dreamy. So before we go to questions from the audience, which we're about to do, the last thing I'd ask you about this book and this quartet of books, which I love so much, what is it that you would like your reader really to take away? What is the main feeling or thought process you'd like people to have?
That question goes over my head. I don't know. I kind of feel like I want to entertain my readers. I want them to enjoy it. I think that there was a time when I was younger where I was like, I believe in love. I mean, I still do, but I mean, I was like, but I think it was more like I wanted that to pass that on to my readers. But I think as I've gotten older, it's more like I really want them to enjoy the mystery, and it, it transport them, take them out of their lives and into the story a bit.
And it's an excellent story.
Thank you, Deborah.
It's an excellent, excellent story. You're going to love this book.
Can we say one last thing?
Yes.
The dedications. This is so funny.
Unbeknownst to each other, we have each dedicated our 2026 novels to each other. And unplanned.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
When Deborah gave me a copy of Best Boy, and I opened it and I cried, of course. And then I was like, I can't wait to give you something, but it was a few months later.
Right, and I was shocked and I cried.
Yeah.
So that's where we all are, crying.
We'll take a short break and be back with the Ocean House Author Series here on WCRI.
You have the perfect family, a beautiful home, and a secret that should have stayed buried. But the past doesn't care about your new life. Discover the latest work from hotelier and nationally best-selling author Deborah Goodrich Royce. Her newest psychological thriller, Best Boy, is a taut, gripping exploration of identity, memory, and the dangerous power of forgetting. Unlock the mystery today, whether for yourself or the reader in your life. Pick up Best Boy by Deborah Goodrich Royce, available wherever books are sold. Visit DeborahGoodrichRoyce.com for more information on Best Boy, Deborah Goodrich Royce, and the Ocean House Author Series. Best Boy. Some stories were never meant to stay hidden.
And we're back with the Ocean House Author Series on WCRI.
Now we want your questions.
Yes.
Before we have cake, this wonderful cake. All right, hands up.
I have to call on Beth Kelly.
All right, wait for the microphone.
Okay.
Oh. No, we want you to be heard on the radio.
Oh.
Hold on. Hand her the microphone.
All right. I usually have a good question for you, Luanne, but I was thinking today when I came, like, what am I going to ask Luanne about all these books? Because I've read all her books, and I love her books, and I love Deborah's books. But today when I was sitting here, I started to think, like, did you ask Deborah if it was okay to use the Ocean House as a setting?
That is
number
such a good
one.
question.
And number
You did.
two,
Yeah.
Deborah, are you okay with any of this added publicity? Does it add to the whole aura of the Ocean House, which is already over the top? But I was just wondering.
Did a neighbor of ours ask me?
Yeah, the neighbor. Yeah,
Did she
you have a very nice
personally
neighbor.
ask me? Well, Luanne Rice did ask me. You did say, I'm writing a book, I'm working on it. You were somewhere in the process, and you asked if I was comfortable, and I said, absolutely.
I know, she was wonderful.
I don't think Murder on the Orient Express has hurt that train one iota. I don't think people think they're going to get murdered on the Orient Express, and I haven't taken the train, but it's one of my bucket list dreams.
Mine too.
In terms of other people around here who may or may not have asked me about
Whether they can get married
the
here.
Ocean House. I think no publicity is bad publicity, right? Okay.
And now-
so there was a question here.
Yes. I belong to a writers group, and we recently came up with some guidelines about the use of AI in our writing.
Oh.
And I'm just curious if you have utilized any elements of AI or, does it enhance anything, or are you totally AI?
Can I take that one?
Yeah, I don't use AI. The only way I use AI, I use a regular search engine, which is Safari. And I find the more open-ended question I ask it, the more likely I am to get an AI-generated answer. Something happened medically in one of our family members last year, which I won't discuss. And I asked a very long, protracted question about, is it definitive if this, that, and the other thing happens? Then you get a very long AI-generated answer. So I will use it in that way as a research tool, in the way I use the internet. I don't use it for writing in any way, to form a sentence, a thought, a paragraph, an idea. I mean, wouldn't you kind of say the same?
I mean, just the question AI gives me hives. Like, I am so opposed to AI in any shape or form, partly because there's a website, if you go to the Atlantic Monthly, the Atlantic, I still call it the Atlantic Monthly, you can, if you're an author, you can look up your books to see whether they've been consumed by AI. Scraped, exactly. I hate
it's such an ugly word.
I hate the word so much.
You've been scraped.
I've been, so like 30 of my novels have been scraped. So that means somebody could say, I want to write a novel like Luanne, and it will spit out a novel like Luanne. And it could, it's so heinous. I mean, I think that at some point maybe it will evolve to something different, but there's a lawsuit that so many of us authors are in. It's a class action brought by the Authors Guild and Penn, because it's so invasive. And actors, I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's very, very complicated.
You're probably on that list too with your books.
Scraped.
You've been scraped. Yes.
Any other questions? I know you're all dying for that cake.
Hi, just wondering, Luanne, if you have more inspiration on the East Coast versus the West Coast with your thrillers. I don't remember a thriller with continuous characters before, and I love the setting, and
Thank
obviously
you,
we have good inspiration, and family rocks on.
Yeah, family rocks on. No, thank you so much for that question, and definitely the East Coast is my muse. When I always, even when I lived out there, I turned here I've only written 2 novels that were set not in southeastern New England, either Connecticut or Rhode Island. So
This is your
it.
sweet spot.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, over there.
Hi, I just want to say I got turned on to your novels because we stayed here, and there was a picture of your book on display. I have now consumed all of your novels.
Wow.
I think Shadowbox is one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life.
Thank you so much.
It's phenomenal.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
I love that book, and in fact, I just got a delivery from Amazon yesterday with 2 more books of yours. My question for you is, are there any characters from your earlier novels that you'd like to revisit?
Yeah, there are. One thing is that I have my earlier novels were set not in the Ocean House, but in a little beach community called Hubbard's Point. And it's very real to me. It's actually based on the place where my grandparents built cottages, right? And so some of those characters who were, and I think, I don't know about you, Deborah, but when I'm writing about a character, it's usually the one that captivates me the most is someone about my age. So I've aged, my characters have aged too, right? So I kind of want to go back to when they were 30 and read them and go, oh, now what are you doing? Or when they were teenagers or something. So I might do that. Thank you.
I love that idea. Any other questions? Oh,
Stoney.
One over there.
Luanne, I know you always have something else in the works. So my question is, can you give us a teaser or some anticipation about what's coming next?
I feel so bad saying this, but I can't. It's this. Thank you for asking, though, and I love that you care and that you want to know. I don't know about you, but I feel as if there's some kind of alchemy or magic about writing fiction, And if I even say one little thing about the next one, I feel like it's letting the magic out and that I can never really get it back. Even with my agent, who I'm very close to, I've been with her since 1979, I think. Yeah, I know, very lucky. She will say sometimes, like, well, what do you, and just not prying, but just kind of general conversation. And she knows I won't tell her, but in the few times when I've been really excited about something, and the thing that agents and editors say, do you have pages? They don't say, do you have an idea? They say, do you have pages? And I may say I've written 50 pages, and I'll say, yeah, I have pages. Starting, I got to show you something, and so I'll show her 5 pages. I put that book down. I never touch it again.
Wow.
I just
can't.
And
at what point will you really show her and feel that you're not going to abandon it?
First draft.
First draft?
Finished draft.
Wow.
Not even, and I don't do outlines or anything like that. It has to be a draft. Yeah. How about you?
I might talk about it a little more. Yeah, I might be a little looser in talking about it. Yeah.
I'm excited about your next one, but.
Well. I've written a mother-daughter cozy murder ghost story set in Westerly, Rhode Island, of all places.
Isn't it the best?
On Elm Street.
Can you tell the title, or are you not quite?
No, I'm not telling the
okay.
title yet.
Okay, it's a great title. Great title.
No, not yet. Not yet. Okay, are we ready to cut cake? Are we ready? We're going to have Luanne go to the back and cut the cake. Thank you, Luanne.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for this special broadcast of the Ocean House Author Series with Deborah Goodrich Royce. Please tune in each month as we'll bring you a new Ocean House Author Series highlighting nationally best-selling and award-winning authors in a salon-style conversation. Hosted by Ocean House owner, actress, and best-selling author Deborah Goodrich Royce. WCRI is pleased to be partnering with the Ocean House to bring you this ongoing series highlighting the best and brightest of the literary world. Thank you once again for joining us. And in the words of Margaret Atwood, in the end, we all become stories.